Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. This is the Voices of Healing podcast, and I'm your host, Tina Clark. I'm here with Natalie Bedard, and we are here to talk about some amazing things today. I can't wait. I'm going to read a little bit of her bio for you, if I can find it on my computer. So, Natalie is an energy healing specialist and founder of Lift OneSelf. Since 2019, she has guided others on their paths to self discovery and emotional well being through her Lift OneSelf podcast. With a trauma informed approach, NatNat empowers individuals to regulate their nervous systems and transform anxiety into empowerment. And she has a special treat for us right at the beginning of the show. We're going to do a short 2-minute meditation together. So, welcome to the show, Natalie.
Thank you for having me, Tina. And you're giving me the most valuable gift that you could give anybody, which is your time. And you're sharing me with your audience. So there's trust of allowing me to be in this space. So I thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to this conversation that we're going to dive deep into.
Of course. I mean, Natalie's like my new best friend now. So, this is the second time we've talked.
Yeah, it's nice when you have energies that are open and that you can be yourself and engage in conversations and, do that critical thinking also. Yet the most important thing is do that active listening. So I'm looking forward to where we're going to go and, where, the energy and the intuition will bring us in this space. So as you said, I'd like to bring us into a mindful moment, which is a 2-minute meditation. And for the listeners, many listen to a podcast while driving or needing their visuals. So when I asked Tina and myself to close our eyes, safety first, please keep those eyes open. Yet the other prompts you're able to follow through with. So Tina, if you can get comfortable in your seating, and if it's safe to, I'm going to ask you to gently close your eyes. And you're going to begin breathing in and out through your nose. And you're going to bring your awareness to watching your breath go in and out. You're not going to try and control your breath. You're just going to be aware of its rhythm, allowing it to guide you into your body. There may be some sensations or feelings coming up, and that's okay. Let them come up. You're safe to feel. You're safe to let go. Surrender the need to control. Release the need to resist and just be. Be with your breath. Drop deeper into your body. There's probably some thoughts or to-do lists that have popped up in your mind, and that's okay. Gently bring your awareness back to your breath, creating space between the awareness and the thoughts, and dropping deeper into your body, just being with your breath. Again, more thoughts have probably popped up. Bring your awareness to your breath, beginning again, creating even more space between the awareness and the thoughts, and dropping even deeper into your body, allowing yourself to just be with the breath. Drop deeper into your body. Now, at your own time and at your own pace, you're going to gently open your eyes while staying with your breath.
That was the quickest 2 minutes ever.
And I invite people into these spaces to do this for themselves several times a day. This is a very profound tool that we can access to regulate our nervous system, to feel our emotions. And, make a choice of how you're going to show up, despite the internal conflict that may be going on. How am I choosing to show up? And that's the warrior work that we have to do constantly, that some may not even be aware of doing. Yet when you pause and you ground yourself in your breath and you release and feel, it gives you a recalibration of, wait a minute, okay, I'm not just going in the patterns and running in the loops. It's, let me interrupt this and be present in the moment. And your breath is always in the moment. And we forget to go access it to regulate ourselves, because your nervous system doesn't know past, present, or future. It just knows feelings and sensations. So when it gets dysregulated, it doesn't feel too good inside ourselves. So it's remembering, okay, let me meet that nervous system to regulate it. And the breath is always in the present moment.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people are being almost bullied by their own thoughts and all these things going around them that are distracting them from themselves. And we need to take back control. You
Mhm.
know, we need to manage our thoughts better. We need to manage our energies better. We need to protect ourselves better from things that are taking away our peace. And, you know, I've been meditating probably for 15 years, and you get better and better at it. You know, the more you practice, it's like a muscle, and those thoughts don't come in. I mean, all I thought about during that 2 minutes is how lovely your voice was and how good I felt. I didn't have any thoughts about what I'm doing later, but that comes with practice.
Exactly.
You will get there. I swear, if you do this on a regular basis, you will get there. I've been in groups where people have asked me what I was thinking, and I said, I'm not thinking about anything right now. I'm actually just listening to the people talking, or, you know, I'm focused on what's happening right now. And it blows them away. They're like, really? Like, really?
Yeah, because once you start meditating, like I showed in that mindful moment, it's creating a space that you're no longer identified with the thoughts. Most people think they are their thoughts. They think they're that negative bias of the activation of the nervous system. And all it's doing is trying to protect you, yet you think that that's the only form of protection that you can access. And it's going, beyond that and creating that space so that you can remove the identity and the attachment that you have with it, and to go more profoundly within. And that's where, they talk about spirituality. And what I do is hold a safe space so the two are integrated. It's not choosing one or the other. It's integrating the two so that you can be in the fullness of the experience. Yet, yeah, there's always a fight of, do I just go into the spiritual and feel nothing and recognize everything's an illusion? Or do I get dragged into the humanness and I'm always in fear and feeling unsafe? It's like, okay, the spectrum is polar on both sides. It's, where do you find yourself in the middle? And where do you integrate both of them, not choosing one or the other? Holding that safe space of being in the experience, which requires us to feel. And we're in a society that doesn't allow us to feel. Feels like a threat to feel. You don't have time or space to feel. Yet, how are you supposed to create the change within yourself? How are you supposed to trust yourself? How are you supposed to validate yourself if you haven't created safety in your body to feel your authentic emotions?
Yeah, I don't know if you're like this, Natalie, but I've always been a very big feeler, and I have never been able to ignore my feelings. And
Mhm.
I know that I've tried to share with people growing up, and I would have these big feelings, and people were just like, oh, it made them uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah,
But that's just how I'm wired. That's the way I am.
yeah. I dimmed some of that when I was younger because I experienced childhood traumas, and some of it I was devalued, and I learned that the vulnerability wasn't safe, the big feelings weren't safe, so I dimmed it. And, you know, after having the lesions in my brain and learning the meditation, that's where it got reactivated. I'm thankful I didn't dim it completely and shut myself off of it. Yet I did dim it because I know I when I was in my 20s, my nickname when I was in my moods was called Storm Cloud, that I could demand the attention of a room if I was in those dense energies.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if I was feeling away, they were like, oh boy, Storm Cloud is here. Yet if I was elevated, everybody else felt elevated too. So I learned, you know, how our our energy, our nervous system, our state of mind can have a command over the space. So I was learning the mindfulness of using that in a very empowering way and not manipulating, because you can get really lured into manipulating and changing a situation, and allowing those emotions to hijack your behavior. So I've learned about that, those big emotions and that energy that, you know, you bring into a space.
I think that's a very, very good point that we need to be responsible for our energy and what we're bringing to other people. And that, you think that others are not feeling what you're feeling or noticing, but there are people like you and I that pick up on those things and many other people like us. And so, yeah, I have to, if I'm angry, I'm affecting everybody with it. And
Mhm.
I don't care how sensitive you are, you're probably going to feel it.
Mhm.
So I have this feeling of responsibility. I'm feeling very angry right now. It's affecting everyone around me. I need to calm myself down. I need to, do the things to get myself better in that calm state. But I almost have in the past felt guilty for that. I'm pissed off and I know everybody's affected by it.
Yeah. And it's having to understand that anger and pissed off is a protective emotion. So it's asking yourself, what are you protecting? And a lot of times, you know, it's the helplessness, or you feel like you were betrayed or whatever it is. Yet we haven't learned to befriend anger. Like, anger has such a bad rap, and it's like it's an emotion of protection. Yeah, if it hijacks your behavior, there's a lot of violent things that can happen, because when you feel threatened, you're going to do everything possible, unless you're in the free state and you're not going to do anything, you're going to shut down. Yet a lot of times when there's anger, it's like, okay, what are you trying to protect? Like, I've had to learn that in the past few years, of when that anger and rage comes up because of my childhood traumas and it coming up and feeling, it's like, what are you trying to protect? And when I, you know, can disarm the protective part of the emotion, going deeper into feeling the sensitivity and the vulnerability. And, you know, actually seeing myself, how I cut myself off of that. Because a lot of times it's not that I'm angry. It feels like I may be angry on the outside at somebody. Yet really, a lot of times it's just the way that I showed up for myself in interactions with people, or what I thought people should show up in the interactions for me. And really having to hold space for that, expectations and narratives, and also not being able to have a healthy relationship with fear.
Well, I'm a big believer in utilizing your anger for the greater good. Like, that is a lot of energy.
Mhm.
And if you feel like there's something out there that, is unjust, and you want to make a change, channel that energy toward making a change,
Mhm.
either within yourself or helping others. And
Mhm.
that's the best way to use that energy, I think.
Yeah, of course. You know, and people, that's why I say people don't know how to have a proper relationship with anger. Like, they'll reference Malcolm X, or they'll reference Martin Luther King or Gandhi. And it's like, you think none of those people, you don't think Nelson Mandela had some anger? You don't think they felt anger? You don't think Mother Teresa has not ever felt anger? They've just channeled it in a different way.
Oh,
We,
isn't there a story of Jesus like flipping tables in the temple?
yes, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So it's, you know, again, because it's such a powerful emotion and we haven't, our emotional intelligence is very lacking. We're very premature in this stage. Like intellectually, people can talk about things, yet like I just did at the beginning and asked if we could do a mindful moment. Everybody talks about telling people to meditate, yet when do we really invite it in our interactions so that we can ground ourselves and meet each other in this moment to go through that transition? Imagine how business meetings or business interviews or even just conversations with your loved ones would be different if we just take a moment to be accountable of our inner state and release everything and come into this present moment with listening. Yet, you know, we are meditators, so we understand how to grasp the tools. Yet those that haven't even been starting this, if you could start introducing this into your everyday for yourself and then start sharing it with other people, that's the profound change everybody's asking for in the world. So that's why I bring these mindful moments in these meditation, in these podcasts, so that we can model it, not just tell people, oh, just meditate and everything. It's like, let's invite you in so that you can see and get a taste of what it is to do your own inner work.
And one quick way to get people to focus, I do this with my clients, is they come in with a slew of issues and, they're stressed out. Sometimes they're crying, and I try to get them to focus on what is your intention for our session together today? What is the number one thing that you want to address? And not only does that get them focused, but it also is part of stating your intention to the universe. This is what I want to work on, and I want to feel better. I want to have less pain. I want to have less anxiety. And you're stating that out loud in a sacred space, which is, this session that I'm having with the client. That's a sacred space and a sacred ceremony.
Mhm.
So, one of the topics I wanted to focus on this episode is the creation of a safe space, which Natalie is already very good at that. I mean, first time I met her, I could tell right away. She knew exactly what this means. And as someone that's helping others, it's important to be good at this, to be able to create a safe space for people to share their deepest, most fears and challenges with you.
Mhm.
So, and I think in everyday people, it's a useful skill to have. If your child comes to you and it has an issue, you want to create a safe space for your child to share their vulnerability with you, right?
Mhm. Exactly. You know, that safe space is the feeling. Most people will say, I don't know how to feel my authentic emotions. I don't know how to feel the fear, feel the sadness, feel the anger because I've been judged or it's been weaponized or whatnot. So when I have clients or just how my being is, there's non-judgment, and what people do is that they co-regulate with my nervous system. So they kind of attach into my nervous system where it feels safe, and that they can release the defense mechanisms of the nervous system, which are guarding your vulnerability. And there's a safety of, oh, I can reveal this and I'm not going to be harmed. And I'm not going to harm myself with it. I'm going to better understand possibly the narratives and languages that I am saying to myself that I'm not even aware of. Yet now I can interrupt that pattern and expand my self awareness. So the space is honesty, the safety of just be honest. And I can visually see the cues when emotions are trying to somatically be released, yet we intellectually guard ourselves and put that performative mask. And I'm like, no, no, come out. And then they feel the deep release, and I'm like, okay, come out and let it go. And, I've had clients that have been with me for many years. And when we first started, like our whole session would be them crying and not being able to get it together and everything else. And I was like, feel it, let it go, let it go. And now they'll feel it for maybe 2 minutes and then they'll come right back and they're like, that used to like debilitate me. And I'm like, yeah, because you weren't familiar with this suppressed emotion in this part of you. Now you've created a safety that it can be felt, yet not hijack things. And I love how you said also, I always ask intentions for my sessions also, so that you can anchor into something higher than what your patterns are. And you can, tell your subconscious to find the tools within your, immediate experience of how will I get there? Because you don't have to figure it out. Your nervous system is very intelligent that if you program it to tell it something, it will go find the things that will validate that. You go tell it that you're not good at something, it's going to find the things to validate why you're not good at something. Our work is into believing in ourselves. In a world that tells you you're not good enough and you don't know what you're doing, you're bombarded with that narrative constantly. So of course it's easy not to want to believe in yourself and not feel that there's possibilities or there's change. The work is to reprogram your subconscious of continuously, what is it that you want to grow within yourself? What is the fulfillment? What is the intention with your actions? Despite what the environment might be, how am I going to show up? How am I going to choose to not be in the patterns, not be in the programming that has been, indoctrinated in me? And it takes a lot of worry work. This isn't, a lot of times people are giving this illusion that it's a miracle cure and there's an arrival place. There's no arriving when you're human. Life is impermanent. It's going to throw you experiences. You're going to go through a plethora of different emotions. It's not shutting down your emotions. It's allowing them to pass through. Yet most of us suppress or repress. We don't know how to feel. Yeah, once you start, then you see the opening in your, and like you said, I'm not thinking of anything because my nervous system isn't activated. I can deeply listen. I'm okay with fear. Fear doesn't debilitate me or activate or disturb my mind. I know what it is, so I can hold the space for it.
Yeah, one of the beauty of doing this, of being in a healing um, practitioner like you and I, is we understand that if we regulate our nervous systems, that affects everyone around us, including our clients. So the beauty of Reiki, for example, is Reiki gets you into that alpha brain wave. So if I go into that alpha brain wave, my client goes into the alpha brain wave because we're entraining each other. That's how it works.
Mhm. Yeah, that's that
So,
co-regulation.
right. And so people are like, wow, I feel really relaxed. And I see colors and I never see colors. And then, it's because that's the beauty of our energy affecting their energy, and then their energy affects us.
Mhm.
And so I think it's amazing. I think it's miraculous, actually.
It is. It's an energy that we haven't been, certain spaces and cultures, that's the norm for them. Yet in North America, this is called woo-woo stuff. And yet science and neuroscience are starting to catch up of, wait, there's something with the nervous system and frequency and energy. Yet they're still so far back. Like our medical system doesn't even ask about anxiety and stress. And that's the number one thing that causes many illnesses within our body, throwing so much cortisol into the body. The other systems start to misfunction. A dysregulated nervous system creates a lot of dis-ease in the body. So when you're going to these medical systems and they're not even asking, what's your stress level? How do you interact with yourself? To really understand that inner, they're just hitting it with symptoms. And they're not doing this with harm. This is what they believe is helping you, that if I fix the symptoms, this is what will work. They're not even aware of some of this stuff because they haven't been trained and they haven't sought out the training for that. So it's really understanding what that inner work is, and nobody can do it for you. There's not a pill I can give you that, sure, you can be in my space, you feel calm. And I tell my clients, just know, you feel calm, you feel that you can like feel these emotions. Once you're away from me, it will last a little bit, but you're going to come back online with yourself. And you are to build the tools. I'm showing you what's possible in this space, because it's not me doing it. It's you're feeling safe to open yourself up to the portal within yourself. Just know when you come out of my parameter, it's like a Wi-Fi signal. The further you're away from it, oh, okay, how do I create my own signal? But people think that they cannot create their own signal when, yeah, it's inside you. It's inside you. You just have to start creating safety in your body to be able to listen to your intuition, to be in your vulnerability, to trust yourself, to believe in yourself.
Yeah, I tell a lot of my clients they always feel way more relaxed and peaceful just after our session. And afterwards, I said, don't do anything stressful today. So you want that feeling to last. So you don't want to throw yourself into a stressful situation. Well, we're picking off of our conversation because I had Wi-Fi problems. So here we are again. I'm here with NatNat, and the point where I got cut off is where I was talking about the importance of not doing anything stressful after a Reiki session or meditation session or anything like that, so you can keep that sense of relaxation and of Zen. So I always recommend that to my clients after the sessions. Like, don't go off and, I don't know, would be stressful. Drive across the state. Yeah. Maybe some people might feel that's relaxing.
Yeah, it's finding out, what will have you engage with your nervous system to come out of that fight or flight and that survival mode. And relaxation can feel very adverse for some people. So they come to do the Reiki to really, feel that that's already within themselves. And so giving them that information, like slow it down. I think that's the most important, like slow it down and find the things that will bring joy and peace and relaxation within yourself before you start getting ramped up in the responsibilities and the roles and the emotional turmoil, all that stuff, so that you can see that there's a possibility of something different in your environment and inside your experience.
So when you say nervous system, can you define that for the listeners?
Yeah, so it's an intelligence central nervous system. So it's what records everything of our existence, and what keeps our persona per se. A lot of people hear about the ego. The ego for me is the defense mechanisms of the nervous system that protect that vulnerability, which is the self and just open and pure and bliss. And so that nervous system is always on record, and it records things of wanting to protect you, because its one function is don't die. And so when people talk about trauma and ACEs, adverse childhood experiences and trauma, it's that the experience created an activation of fight, flight, freeze, or fawn within that nervous system. So it's like the security system came on, and it's like, we don't like this. What was this? And a lot of times there's emotions that try to surface, yet possibly the environment wasn't safe to feel those emotions. And then there was a narration that you created to be able to survive in the experience. Sometimes it could have been chastising yourself. Sometimes it could have been being angry at somebody else, not understanding, fully grasping with the situation. So the nervous system keeps layering and keeps doing programmings automatically. And as a child, if you haven't given a space to really understand your self-awareness and what's going on internally, it just keeps layering and layering and layering. And that's where they call patterns. That's where they call habits. And so at a certain point, when all of a sudden there's a disruption, and life will always bring you a place that wants to wake you up out of that automation, then all of a sudden you're engaged with, oh my gosh, what is this powerful thing that you know, I reach for this or I reach for that. And I know consciously in my thoughts not to do this, yet physically I'm just doing it like I'm sleeping. And it's understanding, well, your nervous system's protecting you, and it's created these mechanisms to be able to cope, to numb, or whatever there is. So the work is to allow yourself to engage and regulate that nervous system. So like you said, with your sessions, you're helping them to regulate, so disarm that nervous system so that it feels safe to go into their vulnerability. It's like that safe, the guard, the door is locked to get in. What you do is help them to realize you can open that door and you can go beyond what this kind of prison that's created within, and see what's possible and feel. And the thing about the nervous system is it will guard certain authentic emotions if it feels that you're not capable of feeling that. And a lot of us think our feelings, we don't actually feel it in our body. And so, as you said with your sessions, it's to bring them in that they're co-regulating with me, and then they can let these energies pass through their body so that they're not controlling their psyche, their behavior, and how they connect with themselves and with the world around them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So why do we have an ego that tries to protect us?
Because it's trying to protect your life force. Yet psychologically, if you got yelled at, it doesn't feel good. So it's going to create a narration. Don't repeat the pattern. So you may have done something. Say your parents yelled at you, okay, because you broke a glass. You're a child. Children break things. Yet the parent yelled, said some things. So you internalize, oh, don't break glasses anymore. So in there, a narration of almost perfection starts to come in, and don't make mistakes. And so in life, we're going to make mistakes all the time. Yet you created that narration because you don't want to be yelled at, and you don't want these feelings that came up, because you're not seeing, well, that wasn't my stuff. It was the adult stuff. So the nervous system's creating this narration. Okay, don't do that again. Don't do those actions again, so that we don't disrupt the things that are on the outside of us. And it's all in a method of protection. And so when people talk about reparenting themselves or doing that inner child work, it's going to face that nervous system and release these belief systems and narrations that have been created within the system to protect yourself. And that's why it's called inner work, and it's real work, because to disengage a pattern, a habit that has been going on possibly for decades, it's a very powerful system to want to protect that life force. Your body houses your life force. That's why they say you're not your body, because you're not your body. There's a life force. Your breath guides you into your life force. Yet the nervous system is part of the body, and that's what it's protecting the body to be able to house this life force. So being able to reprogram that nervous system, if you want to say, or some people say rewire, reshape, or new neural pathways, that is the work of regulating that nervous system and releasing these protective methods that have been created. And the biggest crux of that is you're going to have to feel your authentic emotions. And that can be really unsettling, overwhelming, and very fatiguing. So I'm sure sometimes when people have sessions with you, they're like, I had to sleep for a few hours after, because it was like, oh, I don't know what went on. It's because their nervous system was disactivated, and there's still a conflict. Is it safe to do this? Is it safe to go beyond the patterns that we've stopped things, that we've tried to control things? Can we let go of that sense of needing to control? Can we trust the unknown and uncertainty? So of course it's taxing on the nervous system to start this adjustment and shifting.
I think people want it so badly. They want to be heard, and they want to feel safe. And when they do, it's just like everything comes out right away.
Mhm.
You know, anything that they were feeling, anything they've been wanting to talk about that they didn't feel comfortable talking about, you know, and that's the beauty of being that person that can hold space for people.
Yeah, that's
Is
safety.
that right? Right, because most of us don't feel safe
No, no.
ever.
And your nervous system knows how to sniff out inauthenticity. Especially if you've had trauma at a young age, you learn to read people very quickly so that you know how to belong, how to show up, and what not to disturb in things. So recognizing now, how can I be honest with myself when I've been analyzing everybody on the outside? I've not ever taken time to really appreciate who I was. I was always just trying to defend and protect myself rather than build myself up with confidence in being my worth. So that's a whole work also of, I can finally be seen by somebody and they're not pushing me away and they're not telling me to kind of sense robe myself, put the mask back on to be this performative person. It's like engaging of, come out, let me see who you are so that you can accept all of you and not just do a la carte of picking what will keep me safe in the world. And don't get me wrong, when I'm saying this, we all have to wear masks in the world. That's just the way this dimension of the world is. Yet many don't realize they're wearing 10 layers of a mask and they don't even know how to get to the self. So when you can remove those layers of mask, and then when you can actually just be yourself and not separate from self because you're feeling these big emotions and feeling the unsafety and the fear, that it's like, wow, this is what people are talking about of sitting in the seat of self. This is what people are talking about being in bliss. This is what people are talking about peace and joy within the chaos.
Yeah, one of the saddest things that I hear is my clients or my students will say, I don't have anybody to talk about these things with. And I always encourage them, there are people out there like you, and they're afraid to talk about it. And
Yeah.
you need to go find those people,
Yeah.
whether it's a Reiki share or a meditation circle or, however you do it. Like, find those people and start talking about it because it's so isolating. And you know what? A lot of this stuff is fun and magical, and you want to share it.
Yeah.
Share it with someone. You never know. I mean, you never know. I have a gift of getting people to open up. Put the little feelers out. So, oh, can I bring this up? Can I talk about fairies right now? Will they be open to it?
Mhm.
And you never know. You'd be surprised.
And that's the work too, that you can bring something up, and if they're not open to it, that you don't feel shut down, that you're still open, that okay, that it's just not, they're not there yet, or it's not their interest, and not take it personally. Because the
Exactly.
thing that people do is they take it personally and then they shut down because they want a sense of belonging. Where it's like, no, you belong to yourself, and other people have different interests and they're at different levels of their journey, and they see certain things, or certain things that you don't believe in and you don't see that they do. Yet it's the thing of not taking things personally and meeting people where they are, not trying to contort and change them into being what you need them to be to feel safe. That's why people manipulate and control, because they want a sense of safety.
Interesting. See, I'm always like, okay, they're just not into this stuff or they're not, and I'll drop it. We'll talk about something else.
Not everybody thinks that way, though, or not everybody interacts with that aspect. So that's why we see a lot of people dysregulated with a lot of angst, a lot of people with social anxiety, because it's that personal part. Like if I show you my quirkiness or the different things that I indulge in, are you going to ridicule me and judge me? And, it's being able to do your work of seeing that's their stuff, it's not yours. And like you said, just drop it and go to something else. Not everybody has those skills or techniques within themselves. They get very dysregulated, and it goes through a whole filter of badgering and discomfort and everything else.
Yeah. So if someone's interested in healing their nervous system and understanding what their emotions are, how do you recommend they get started?
Did we do a mindful moment? I
You
believe we did
did.
a
Yep.
mindful moment. So that
Mhm.
is the step that I engage all my clients to come into is, you know, the word meditation, a lot of people get averse to it because they're like, oh, I don't know how to meditate. I tried it. My brain just keeps going. And it's like, well, that's meditation. You're being aware of what's going on internally. And where I bring you is also to see that you're not to identify with those thoughts. They're not you. Yet a lot of people are still thinking their thoughts and don't know how to create that space. Not shut it down, just create that space to allow it to be. And so that's one thing of opening up safety in their body so that they can start engaging in that inner exploration, because for some it's very threatening, especially if they've been harmed physically, to go back into their body. They're like, that is not somewhere where I want to go. That doesn't sound fun at all, or that it's empowering at all. So finding that safety to see that, yes, it can, and you have power in there. Journaling is another really significant one where we can just put everything that we're thinking, we're feeling onto paper so we can engage with it differently. Because if you're just stuck in your head, your nervous system's going to kind of give justification of the narration of what's going on. It's going to find the negative bias rather than the positive aspects or the possibilities. Like, you have to do your work to reframe your perception whenever your nervous system's activated, because activation means negative bias. That's that inner critic or criticism that you hear internally that's trying to shut down authentic emotions that are coming up, and it becomes a big conflict. And so when you journal, then you can see a different context and perspective of yourself. Movement is another one. So I recommend dancing a lot to my clients, because the body needs expression, and it's not only in words, it's in movement and releasing those somatic releases of energy that have been stored inside the body, and that nervous system allows there to be an openness. And I just want to come back to journaling. Journaling isn't only with words. You can color with the journaling. You can use textiles so you can feel and see with colors to give expression to whatever the experience you're having. And then nature is another significant one that I recommend. Do you hear this feedback? No. Okay. All right. Yeah, so nature is another significant one. Nature helps to regulate our nervous system. And
Yeah. And
your
that's why
sessions
people,
also.
yeah, exactly. Or sessions with NatNat, to help get you into that safe space so you can express yourself
Yeah.
and release.
And
Well, I
also
want,
love yourself and be able to better relate to yourself. Say that's the biggest gift, that once you finally can relate to yourself and not separate, even when you see your mistakes or you see things that just make you shudder, that you don't shut it down, that you're able to let it pass through, to really understand what acceptance really is, to for it to be embodied is the miracle in itself. Because it's like, I didn't know this was possible for me to be in this space. I've been running away from it. I didn't know home was within myself.
yeah, so I know that you went through a health crisis before, and is this where you learned all about the nervous system and how to heal it was a result of that?
Yeah. From a young age, I was always interested in psychology. So I had an innate kind of knowledge and wisdom that just came naturally to me. Yet I didn't follow that path. And so when I had the lesions in my brainstem and in my cerebellum, I got to see firsthand, like, I was in debilitating chronic pain and fatigue, and my body was shutting down. And so in that, I got to see firsthand about the nervous system, seeing these chemical drops that were being released. Say if I was frightened, feeling the drop of chemical that gets released inside, feeling the charges. So everything was almost like a matrix slowed down so I could see it in real time rather than afterwards of, oh, what was that? And then I discovered meditation a year later in the form of TM, transcendental meditation, and that just opened the portal significantly for me. And they tell you with TM to create a quiet room in your home and meditate there twice a day for 20 minutes. Yet I was a solo parent of twin boys that were 5 at the time, and there was no quiet space that I could get, maybe 20 seconds at most. So I brought meditation onto the living room couch and living room floor. So while they were fighting, listening to TV, screaming, dancing, yelling, whatever they were doing, it was stay here within myself and allow curiosity to see what the story was going to unfold, not be reactive and think that I know what is going to happen next, and allow them to work out their differences too. Because I was an only child, I didn't know how to relate to sibling rivalry. I was like, oh no, there must be something wrong here. Not seeing like, yeah, humaning is challenging. We're always in a power struggle of getting our way. And a lot of times, some people will be passive and just let everybody do whatever they want and feel like I have no needs and no wants or anything like that. So really having a better perspective of my fawn state, because I was in my fawn state, which is the people pleasing, the helper, the taking care of everybody else, but thinking I was a nobody. So when the twins helped me to see within myself and better understand that nervous system and create more safety in my body, and really spread my awareness and really expand it much more.
Yeah, the gift of having children is they're your greatest teachers, and they are here to change things, in our families, in our lineages, and they're here to shake things up, and they're gonna.
Yeah, they're disruptors.
And I say, let them.
Yeah. Yeah. My one of the twins, when he was like, I think it was JK. I don't know if it was JK or SK, junior kindergarten or senior kindergarten. So between 4 and 5, he was going to the school and telling them that Santa didn't exist. That when he sees you when you're sleeping or when you're awake, there's no man that could see everybody doing that. So that's your parents. And they're just wanting you to behave properly so you can get some gifts. And so he was telling this story to all the other classmates, and the teacher had some very upset children. So was telling him, okay, I understand you have your belief system. Yeah, you have to keep it to yourself because you're disrupting the other students and they have theirs. So don't encroach the truth on them when we want it to be, everybody has their own beliefs. So there, that disruptor, I supported him and told him, yes, like, just because you see something, if it's, you know, causing harm in the sense of somebody isn't ready to wake up with that, it's not your job to start shaking people and just go. It's like everybody has to meet themselves where they are. If they want to be in the narrative of that, who are you to tell them that they're not able to live in that belief system? It's not harming anybody. It's when it starts to harm. So really educating him in that. And then, there were so many other disruptive, and having me in the fawn state of people pleasing and wanting to not inconvenience anybody, and having this little one be like, no, this is not truth. It was a fine line to heal within myself and then support this child that, truth tellers aren't liked. We don't want to hear that stuff. And then that gave me the opportunity to do financial literacy. I gave them the choice. Do you want to have presents once a year where I spend a lot of money? Or do you want me to use that money all throughout the year so that we can do on trips and go to different things? And they chose the latter of, yeah, no, I don't want everything all at once. I want to be able to do the things that we can do and everything else. So it allowed me to change the narrative. And my mother was in disagreement with it. Other friends were in disagreement with it. Everybody else around me was in disagreement with it. Yet I had to stay the course of, this is what I'm choosing to do it differently. And you see the disruption in a lot of people because tradition is embedded very strongly. And a lot of people don't take the opportunity to do critical thinking of asking questions and seeing if it could be done differently.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I wanted to thank you, NatNat, for being on the show today. And can you share how people can find you? And if there's any projects you're working on, please mention that too.
My website is liftoneself.com, LIFTONESELF.com. They can come on my website. I have a 15-minute discovery call to see if we could work together and see, what it is that you need with the regulation of your nervous system. Also, I have a podcast called Lift OneSelf, which Tina is going to be on. And I'm also on social media under Lift OneSelf, where I leave some nuggets of wisdom. I invite people into those mindful moments. I also engage people to lift up their state, that, feel what you're feeling, but also choose joy, allow joy to come in when, things are overwhelming. Just take a pause and breathe. So that's where they can find me, everything under Lift OneSelf. And I want to really thank you for giving me the most valuable gift that you could give anyone, Tina, which is your time. And time is such a thing that we don't use as a tool. We tend to, think it's a toy and just take advantage of it. Yet I take it with a lot of regard and gratitude that you allowed me to share this space with you, and that we did it over also with the technical difficulty, and that we can engage in such a deep, open, and safe conversation.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your wisdom with everyone and your energy. And please check out her website. And if you're interested in connecting with her, I highly recommend it. I'm in her safe container right now. It feels good, y'all.
And I just want to remind you and the listeners to please remember to be kind to yourself.